17 is so random. You didn't have 3 more stories to even it out, or 7 less? So no hate to this commenter, it's just a question. But no one's criteria when they choose a book is that the number of chapters in it be an even multiple of 10. Like, who cares about it? No one cares about that at all. And no one's leaving a review saying, I love this book. It had 20 chapters, 5 stars. Like, that's not even important at all. So why 17? Well, I wrote a bunch of stories, and then I chose the best stories to put in the book. And that number came out to be 17. To be honest, had it been 20, then maybe even people like you would have thought, I bet there's only 17 good stories in it, and he padded it out with 3 bad ones so that it came out to 20. Like, honestly, I think 17 is like the perfect number. It says, hey, these are really good stories. There's no extras and no less. And why would I write a book and then say, no, you're only getting 10 stories. I'm leaving the other 7 out because, even though they're great stories, it needs to be an even number, 10. So that's not why. That said, the number of stories in the book was almost 16. So what happened was I wrote this book mainly during the pandemic, and I gave it to my wife to read. When she was done, the manuscript, she said, this is great, but you're missing a story. I was like, what do you mean I'm missing a story? I decide how many stories to put in the book. And she said, well, you haven't written about the pandemic. And I was like, well, who cares about that? And she said, well, years from now, people are going to be reading your book, and they may want to know how you experienced it. The same way I was curious about how people experienced, the Spanish flu 100 years ago. She goes, it's important to put your perspective there. I was like, all right, got a good point. But I didn't have anything I thought I could add to the conversation. Like, I didn't want to make it like a magazine article that we all wore masks and we socially distanced and we were waiting for the vaccine. Like, who cares about that? How could I make this fresh? So I gave it a lot of thought and I couldn't come up with anything. But then one day I went for a run. In our neighborhood, we have a country road that dead ends, goes up a hill, and it dead ends at a golf course. And I kind of like running on this road, but the only people who travel it, or the only cars that go up, are people who go to the golf course. No, there's no other reason to be on this road. And these people drive like maniacs because there's no cops there. And so as much as I loved running on the road, I always kept fearful that someone's going to smash into me. And so I stopped running on it. When the pandemic hit, the city shut down the golf course and they locked the gate at the bottom of the hill. And so I remember seeing that and thinking, wow, I can run on this road now. So I slid under the gate and I just started running on it. And it felt eerily post-apocalyptic. There's no traffic, no cars, no life. The weeds were already starting to encroach on the road. And as almost weird as it was, I felt for the first time in I don't know how long, strangely at peace. Like I felt safe, and I'm running on this road. I get to the top of it, right where the golf course is, and I sit down right on the double yellow line. Because how often can you do that? How often can you travel a road and not feel afraid? And so that's the moment I realized what I could write about this pandemic, how it affected me and how my behavior in it affected others. And that story is called The Plague Upon Your House. It's the last story in the book, and I put it last because it's one of the most powerful stories, I think. So if you want to read it, I hope you do. Signed copies are there in the shop. You can also find it over there on the link. You can get the audiobook or the ebook as well. And thank you for the question, and I hope you enjoy it.